That is, AI is now able to create very convincing first party data, right? So the AI is able to like use all of these applications and like as Pinky was saying, is able to interact with all of these posts and be very convincing in doing so. So the appeal over here is probably that, hey, a new way of verifying now exists. Whether you take Reclaim Protocol or not, that's almost besides the point. The more important thing is this new technology called zero knowledge proofs now exists, in which you can do verifiability of like various kinds of computation, various kinds of data.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the show. I'm your host Ingi Kim, founder of Narrative, a holding company that grows by investing in and acquiring businesses with strong fundamentals and high potential. I'm joined today by my co-host Kelvin, who plays a key role in expanding our ecosystem and partnerships globally. Great to have you here as always, Kelvin.
Thank you, Ingi. Great to be here as well and excited for this one. Today's episode is especially exciting. We're exploring one of the most important and fast evolving layers of the internet, trust and verifiable identity. From background checks and employment verification to decentralized KYC and on-chain credentials, this is a space where real problems meet real cryptography. And to walk us through that frontier, we're thrilled to welcome Mad, founder of Reclaim Protocol, a project that's rethinking how we verify user data across the web using powerful technology like ZK-TLS. Mad, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Hey, thank you so much, Kevin, for that introduction, and thank you, Ingi, for inviting me onto this podcast. Very, very excited. I've probably not spoken directly to the Korean audience before, so very, very excited to be here and sharing thoughts with this audience.
Great. I'm sure the Korean audience would be thrilled to hear your story. So let's dive in right to the questions. So first of all, can you introduce Reclaim Protocol in your own words? What big problem did you set out to solve, and what's the vision driving Reclaim?
For sure, for sure. First of all, I'm Madhavan. I go by Maddy, and I'm the founder of Reclaim Protocol. And Reclaim Protocol is a way to generate verifiable data from existing reputation on various websites and apps. Right. So right now, most of us are spending more and more time on the digital space, and slowly, as we use all of these applications, we start building reputation on all of these platforms. Right. So as and when you are using, let's say, Instagram, you're building your followers. If you're using, let's say, some airlines, you're collecting your airline miles. Or if you're using some financial tools, let's say you're paying or stuff like that, you're building up some form of a credit history, some form of a payment history, and so on. Now, all of this information is currently stored on websites and apps, right? So the apps that you use, they are the custodians of the reputation that you have been building up, and you can't really share that across various websites. So let's say I have some 10,000 miles on United Airlines as like airline miles. There's no way for me to share that across. Let's say if I want to get a discount on Hilton hotels, now there's no way for me to transfer that information. The best that I can do is probably log in into my United Airlines, take a screenshot of the airline miles, and then share that across with Hilton. Now Hilton has to go through this another process of verifying whether the screenshot that I've uploaded is actually true. It's not been morphed, because it's super easy to morph, right? If you know a little bit of Photoshop, you can just like edit out the number of miles that you have. So screenshot is what we are kind of typically using. Sometimes you download a PDF, but the same problem exists over there as well. So the problem that Reclaim Protocol tries to solve is it allows you to reclaim this data from all of these websites and be the custodians yourself, so that you can share it wherever you want to in a verifiable way. If you're using Reclaim Protocol to take this quote unquote screenshot, the counterparty, the person who's receiving the screenshot, can be 100% sure that it has not been tampered with. So basically what Reclaim Protocol tries to do is give the control of one's reputation, one's identity back to the user. And that's why it's called Reclaim Protocol. You reclaim the data that is residing on other web servers, other websites, and take full control, and you can use it the way that you want.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I'm sure that everyone would have at least once touched that problem. Though you touched on how painful verification was, slow and costly, and how Reclaim aims to change that. Can you share a bit about these early days? What has inspired you personally to solve this? Like, was there an aha moment or a particular use case that drove you to build Reclaim?
Yeah. Actually, we didn't have this magical thought, hey, we need to go build Reclaim Protocol. I'll quickly tell you about the story, how we got here. Is we we run this other product called Questbook, right? So Questbook is a way to give out bug bounties, and developer grants to developers who are contributing to open source software, right? So some of the biggest names in the crypto ecosystem, at least, use our tools to give out these developer grants. Now, what? And this was like maybe early 2020, right? So, or maybe late 2020. And when we launched, a lot of developers started applying to various bug bounties and developer grants. And one of the things that came up again and again is developers saying, "Hey, we want to apply to these grants, but we want to apply pseudonymously. We don't want to reveal our identity." No, because in some cases people were doing this in their free time. They don't want their bosses to know about it, or they did not want to encounter any biases, whether it be like racial, geographical, or whatever. They don't want that bias to seep into the decision making process on whether or not to give this person a bounty, right? So those are the kind of issues that we were facing on our platform. So the question became, hey, people want to apply pseudonymously, but the grant managers were like, hey, okay, fine, we're okay with pseudonymous developers coming and solving open source problems, but they claim that they worked at Microsoft. They claim that they have contributed to some GitHub repository. How do we know for sure? They're pseudonymous. We don't know their identity, so we can't check, right? So that's kind of the inception of the problem. So we were like, okay, fine. There are these developers who don't want to reveal their identity, but we still want them to be able to prove that they worked at a Microsoft. We still want them to be able to prove that they are from a certain geography and they understand that ecosystem well, whatever, right? So there were parts of the identity that were important to the decision-making criteria of whether or not to give out these grants and bounties, but there was no way to do this, right? So if you want to share information that, hey, I have contributed to so-and-so GitHub repository, but you still don't want to reveal your identity, right? So we said, hey, that's a problem that we want to solve. And that's where the problem initiated. So initially, this product was actually called Questbook Identity, right? In which, if you are a developer, you come to us and you say, hey, I dox yourself to you. I will give you my identity. You can check all my reputation. You can check my employment history and so on, and then pass on only the required information to the people who are giving out the grants. But that was kind of like an okay solution. But then there were a lot of developers who were like, hey, I don't want to reveal myself even to you. Like, how do I trust you that you will not later leak the identity information as well? So we definitely needed a better solution than what we built out at Questbook Identity. And as we built more and more technology, we realized that hey, the problem that we are solving over here using zero knowledge proofs. So that was something that was new back then. That was a technology that had just started working, so we could use zero knowledge proofs to solve the identity problem that we were trying to tackle. And very soon it became evident that, hey, you know what? This solution that we are building is not only going to solve the identity problem for our own product, but it's also probably relevant for people outside as well. Maybe somebody else also wants to know about the user's reputation, user's identity, and so on. So let's just open it up. So at some point we decided, hey, this is more useful for people beyond just Questbook Identity. So we launched a separate product line called what is today Reclaim Protocol. So we kind of got here like a very through a very tangled route, but I'm glad that we finally ended up where we are today.
Brilliant story and a very intriguing problem that you're trying to tackle. So now that we've seen your vision and how Reclaim Protocol came to be, so now let's talk about the real world problems you're solving. It's clear that background checks and document verification are a pain point. Can you give some specific examples of how Reclaim is used in practice? Perhaps one from the traditional Web 2 and one from the Web 3 side?
For sure, for sure. First of all, thank you for making that split, because it's very important for us to understand that Reclaim Protocol is not a technology that applies only to Web 3, because your data is your data. Like, your data does not know Web 2, Web 3, or anything like that. Does not have that property. So it's very important for us to understand that this is both relevant in Web 2 and Web 3. I think looking at examples would be a great way to really drive that point home. So I have a few interesting examples. Of course, from a high level, I would say there are, as Kelvin already pointed to, there are a few verticals that we really care about. We care about background verifications. We care about job marketplaces. That's another place where we see a lot of traction. Loyalty is another. The example that I was taking earlier, in which you could do a status match. If you have certain airline miles, you could probably also get a Hilton premium or whatever. So the categories that we go after is background verification, lending, job marketplaces, and loyalty. So these are the domains in which what we do is super relevant. And what we do is education background verification, employment verification, financial background verification, and just like loyalty points across the board. So okay, with that behind us, those are the kind of domains that we focus on. But to give you a very specific example, I'll probably take an interesting one, because that drives the point home the best. So there's this lending company in India. Now, in India, there's one problem which is probably not very common in other countries. Is the address verification is very hard to do. Right? If you're, I don't know about Korea, but at least in the US, you typically have stuff like your rental agreement or your utility bills and so on, which contain your address. But that's not true in India. There's no real way to prove that you actually stay at a particular address. So now the lending company has a problem. The lending company knows for a fact that these are like certain localities in the city in which the loan recovery is actually pretty good. Like, people pay back their loans pretty with a high probability, right? So they want to give a lesser premium rate for that, and they want to give a higher premium rate in which they know that it's harder for us to collect the loans back. But they need to know where you actually live. Now, how do we get that information? Like, usually in India, the address proof that you have is that of some ancestral home that you own. So those are the kind of address that typically show up on your official documents. So what this lending company very interestingly does is it says, hey, you're probably ordering food a lot. You just tell me what is the address at which you've been ordering food for the last 3 to 6 months, right? That is probably the locality in which you actually live. Now, in India, that just like you have Uber Eats or DoorDash in the West, you have products called Zomato and Swiggy, which are the popular food delivery apps in India. And what this lending company asks the users to do is, hey, log into your Swiggy food delivery app and prove that this is actually the address in which you're ordering food. So that way I know that that's where you live. And that serves kind of an address verification. So previously for this company, it used to take 14 days to do an address verification, because they need to send a person physically to the user's home and check whether they actually live there. But with using Reclaim Protocol and fetching this information from other sources like food delivery apps, that's down probably to 14 seconds. So that's an interesting use case, I thought. I'm not sure if that's the kind of use case that you wanted to hear about, but I'm happy to give more serious examples as well.
I mean, for sure, it's really interesting. I'm quite impressed how broad the use cases are. Like, from hiring and lending to DAOs and DeFi, it sounds like essentially any scenario where someone needs to prove something about themselves could potentially use Reclaim. So on that note, how do users actually interact with Reclaim? Can you walk us through the user experience? Say I'm a job seeker verifying my employment. What do I see and do?
For sure. So maybe I'll take one more example and drive it home. I think I just realized I did not answer your question on what are some Web3 examples. So I'll use a Web3 example to drive this point home. So there are like a couple of very interesting Web3 projects as well. So one of them is 3Jane. So 3Jane is an under collateralized lending platform that is completely on the blockchain. Now, when you're giving out under collateralized loan, you need to know what the credit score of the user is. Of course, there are like a lot of information that you need to know about the user. One of them is a credit score that I'm going to be using in this example. Is you need to know whether this person who is taking a loan from the blockchain does actually have a valid credit score or a credit score that is enough to make this borrow viable. Okay, so what the user experience looks like is now you're going to be on 3Jane, and on 3Jane you will see a button that says verify your credit score. You tap on that button. Now here's the catch about Reclaim Protocol. Everything needs to happen on a mobile phone, at least at this point in time. We are working on a solution that will work directly on a desktop, but okay, fine. Right now, it's everything is mobile first. The user experience is you would tap a button that would say, "Hey, verify my credit score," and then Reclaim Protocol's flow would kick in, and it would show you a browser. Now on this browser, you would have to log in into the place that actually contains your credit score. So in the US, it is Credit Karma, right? So you log in into Credit Karma. As soon as you log in, for you as an end user, you would see your credit score on that dashboard. What Reclaim Protocol does is whatever information that you see on your dashboard, we will pick what is information that is relevant to 3Jane and generate a zero knowledge proof that this is the data that actually came from Credit Karma and it has not been tampered with. We generate a small data packet called a zero knowledge proof, share that with 3Jane. Now 3Jane can verify, okay, yes, indeed, Ingi actually logged in into Credit Karma. Indeed, this was his credit score. And now we can probably process the on-chain loan. So yeah, to answer your specific question, Kelvin, is as soon as the user taps on the verify button, they are asked to log in into the website from which they want to pull this data. But you can think of this very similar to a login with Google kind of a user flow, like an OAuth kind of a user flow, in which you see that button, login with, instead of just saying login with Google, you will see login with Credit Karma. You log in over there. As soon as you log in, you will see again that very similar kind of a pop-up that says, "Hey, what is the data that you want to share with 3jane.com?" You select, okay, this is what I want to select, and only that information gets revealed to 3Jane. Nothing else gets revealed. So it's very privacy preserving in that manner as well. Only what you want to share gets shared with the other party.
Great. Thank you so much for the thorough walkthrough. Now I completely understand how this all works. So now let's pivot to the business side a bit. So a lot of crypto and identity projects struggle to find real adoption, but from what you're describing, Reclaim is solving a very concrete problem. So how did you approach product market fit, and who are your primary users or customers today, and what traction or feedback have you seen so far?
For sure. Yeah. Again, as I mentioned, the four categories of products that we go after as a sales process is background verification companies, job marketplaces, lending, and loyalty. Like these are the four verticals. Of course, as you pointed out, Kelvin, a little bit earlier, is the use cases is very, very broad. So we need to be very focusing. Hey, these are the domains that we are going to focus on, and that is super critical. So we are focusing only on these four use cases, and the reason that we focus on these four use cases is because mainly these are like use cases that have nothing to do with only blockchains, right? Of course, you have lending platforms on the blockchain, you have loyalty companies on the blockchain, you have job marketplaces on blockchain. That's all fair argument. But what we say is, hey, we don't really care so much about whether you're Web3 or Web2. So our endeavors are, hey, these are the four verticals. We'll just go after any company that is building in these categories. and onboard them without having to distinguish between Web 2 and Web 3. So coming back to the question on what the business model, our business model is super simple, right? We just charge for the number of verifications that are being done on a usage basis. Sure, we have some tiers here and there, but at a large level, we just charge for each verification that we do. And I think we are lucky in that way that our business model is much simpler than a lot of other projects in crypto, maybe. So yeah, our business model very simple. Just go into all of these conversations across these 4 verticals and say, hey, one verification, this is the cost, depending on the number of verifications you pay us, and that seemed to work pretty well for us, I would say. So also just to put things into perspective, we are now processing. We just crossed 1.5 million verifications that we've done. So we're doing like millions of verifications. So and without revealing too much beyond the NDAs that we have, I think we are very soon going to see that number shoot up to several million every month, because
Wow.
whether it be like job marketplaces or loyalty, so these are like very high number of verifications kind of use cases. So we are looking at like millions of verifications happening every month, if not tens of millions every month.
Yeah. Big congrats.
How do you charge for this service? What's the business model enabling sub-dollar verifications? And how do you ensure you maintain that low cost as you scale?
So yeah, thank you for also pointing out that yes, we are a low cost solution. So to put things into perspective, right now, depending on where you're in the world, there's a cost associated with doing education and employment verification, for example, right? So in the US, if you want to do education verification using the incumbent product called the National Student Clearinghouse, you're typically paying like $40. If you're doing, let's say, some employment verification using, again, the incumbent in the US is the Work Number, so you're spending about $100 per verification. Of course, this is like different for different countries. I'm not 100% sure what that cost right now is in Korea, but we've typically seen that number range from anywhere like $10 to like $30-$40 per verification. That's typically what we've seen across various countries. And we are able to do it like at $1 or so, right? So the most important thing, like this is like in many cases 100x improvement. If you're spending $100 before, but now you only need to spend $1. That's largely, as you might have guessed, the reason why a lot of companies start working with us in the, let's say, job verification marketplace. So yeah, the reason that we are able to do this is because we use a lot of cryptography. Typically, if you have to do this without the use of cryptography, you need to strike a lot of partnerships. So you need to go to a Microsoft and say, hey, Microsoft, share all of the employee details with me because I'm building this repository of identity for all the users. And you're probably paying all of these companies. You're going out and like paying all of these companies to share data with you. Now, that obviously has a cost associated with it, which is something that we do not have. Like in all of the technology that we mentioned, the most important thing which I missed is the websites themselves do not have to make any change, right? So the university websites do not have to make any change, and we can still prove that you went to, let's say, Stanford, Harvard, whatever. And that is super interesting. We are able to replace the partnership costs with cryptography, and cryptography obviously is much cheaper than partnerships. So we are able to slash all of the partnership costs that were associated with procuring this data. And now we're able to do that like at $1 or even sometimes less than $1, depending on the use case. And yeah, that's also how we are able to gain market share, but just by underpricing the incumbents.
That is really interesting. It also goes similar in Korea, especially the government as well. So I think if we also have reclaimed protocol in Korea, I'm pretty excited to see the cost being cut by a lot. So now let's delve into the technology, but in an accessible way. So the term ZK-TLS keeps coming up. Can you explain what ZK-TLS is and how it underpins Reclaim's ability to verify data from any website? And keep in mind, some of our audience may not be super technical, so a clear analogy or high-level explanation would really help.
Yeah, for sure. I will try to explain this without diving too much into the technical jargons, which implies that there would be some deliberate inaccuracies that I'm going to be having in this explanation. So please bear with me. Don't cite this in any formal settings. Okay. Anyway, with that out of the way, so ZK-TLS is kind of the term that has stuck on for products like Reclaim Protocol. It has two parts to that, like ZK and TLS. I'll break that down into those specific parts. So first of all, TLS, right? So as we mentioned, we are trying to pull all of this data from existing websites, right? So existing websites are built on HTTPS, and the protocol that powers HTTPS itself is called a protocol called TLS, right? So whenever you open any website, on the address bar, you see this green padlock that shows up. That is essentially an indicator that the TLS protocol has executed successfully, right? And now all of your data is encrypted end to end, right? The core insight over here is there's a bunch of cryptography that's already happening as part of you opening a website, right? So there is some cryptography that is happening to make sure that your connection with a certain website is end-to-end encrypted. Like even this podcast that we are recording, now we've opened riverside.fm. We don't want other people to be able to listen in, let's say, before the podcast has released and stuff like that, right? So everything over here is end-to-end encrypted, and that is the fundamental nature of the internet itself. Now, the insight over here is the TLS is already powering the internet. It's already doing a bunch of cryptography. Can we use the same cryptography not only for like end-to-end encryption, but also prove that this is the information that came from, let's say, riverside.fm, right? If I'm seeing some data that has been delivered to me, it has come only from riverside.fm and not something else. In the case of the lending product example that I was giving, you need to prove that this is information that actually came from the food delivery app and not a dummy app that you built yourself. So how do we know that for sure? Now, the core insight over there is, when this TLS protocol is executing, there is something called a certificate authority. Now, the certificate authority is what links the TLS protocol to a particular publicly verifiable cryptographic certificate. Now, what ZK-TLS essentially does is it takes the end-to-end encrypted data and ties that data back to a publicly verifiable certificate. So that is how we know that, hey, not only has this data come from, let's say, swiggy.com or riverside.fm, but we also know that it has not been tampered with because it is cryptographically tied directly to that website's publicly verifiable HTTPS certificate or a TLS certificate, SSL certificate. So I'm happy to go deeper into how we exactly implement it, but that's the high level. The high level is there's already a bunch of cryptography that's happening for end-to-end encryption, and we use the same the same resources in that cryptography to also add a layer of verifiability. The internet by design is not verifiable. You cannot prove information about what data was transferred in the typical HTTPS protocol. But using Reclaim Protocol, you can take a protocol that is end-to-end encrypted and convert that into end-to-end encrypted and verifiable protocol.
Yeah, I have to say that was perfectly articulated. Like ZK is a really complex concept for people to understand, but that was a very clear explanation. I especially love the attested screenshot analogy. So ZK-TLS is how you prove the data is real and unchanged. So now let's talk a bit about scale and integration. Reclaim claims to support thousands of websites and data sources. How did you achieve that? Do you have to manually integrate each website, or is there some magic that makes it broadly work? And I recall you mentioning AI earlier. How does AI play a role in your technical solution?
For sure, that's a great point. I think before I answer that question, I need to talk about a limitation of the protocol and then how we actually go ahead to solve it, right? Um, so now, if I have to generate a verification of some data on a website, uh, we need to define something called a provider. Now, this provider basically tells us, what data to extract from this page and how to generate a zero knowledge proof for it. Now, each website, whether it be stanford.edu, has a very different website from harvard.edu, or it has a very different website from, I don't know, a food delivery app, of course, right? So we need to go define these providers for each of these websites. And so every website is different. So we need to define how to extract information, how to generate a proof from each of these websites. And as you mentioned, Kelvin, no, we typically do it manually, right? So we go ahead and say, hey, okay, fine. You want to generate a proof from this website? Okay, fine. Let's go ahead and build this provider. The first, and of course that does not scale. So the first solution that we put out there is something called the dev tool. The dev tool is, you can think of it like the Chrome inspect element kind of tools, and very similar kind of an interface. And you can use that to build a provider yourself. Like, you don't have to wait for us to build the provider. You can go build it yourself. And it's a simple drag and drop kind of an interface, so anybody can do it. So that was the first solution that we had, in which anybody from the community can come in and say, hey, this website is not supported, or my university is not supported. I want to add support for that. And they can come and use the dev tool themselves and add support for that website. Okay, and with that we scaled to about I think 1,500 different websites because the community started pitching in, and that slowly started growing. But that still hits a roadblock. The roadblock is, let's say if you want to do something like education verification, you want to verify where a student goes to university. Now there are 20,000 universities in the world. Now, how do we go and create these providers for like 20,000 universities? So that's kind of a problem that we had. The first solution is, hey, can you go and go to all of these 20,000 universities, find a volunteer, ask them to use the dev tool that I just mentioned, and actually build the provider for that website themselves. And that's hard. It's an operational undertaking to be able to do it at like 20,000 universities scale, right? But then at some point we realized, hey, the dev tool that we've built is actually very, very easy to use, right? Like, it's something that a non-technical person has been using for a very long time. So we thought, hey, can we ask the AI to use the dev tool on behalf of the user? That's kind of the insight that we have. And now what we've not yet like publicly launched it, but we've announced an alpha launch for doing AI assisted verifications. So what that means is now, even if you've never seen the website stanford.edu before, right? As soon as the user logs in, an AI will kick in and look at the page and say, hey, okay, fine, this is the page that I see, and this is how this is the data that we need to extract from this page, and this is how we can generate a zero knowledge proof for it. And all of this is happening in real time, even though we have never seen stanford.edu before. And that's how AI is able to help us scale from, let's say, 2,000 providers that we have before the AI, and now about 20, 30,000 they are able to support after the availability of AI.
Oh, brilliant. Especially like there's like thousands and millions of new types of credentials popping up every day. So I see that combination of AI and ZK is indeed fascinating and not something you hear often. It seems like a smart way to tackle integration scalability. Now, one more tech question. Many listeners might be wondering about security and privacy. So you're dealing with sensitive user data like bank accounts, tax records, etc. How do you ensure that this data is protected? For example, do you store any of it? What measures are in place to prevent misuse? And how do you comply with privacy laws?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we are very, very lucky. We are lucky in this sense that, first of all, I want to point out that we are compliant, right? So we've done our GDPR, we've done our SOC 2 Type 2. CPA, all of these, most important compliance around the world. We are compliant, and the reason that we are compliant, and the reason that this process is very, very easy for us, is because we don't touch the data at all, right? So, as I was mentioning a little while earlier, we are building on top of the HTTPS protocol, which is end-to-end encrypted, right? So we are a layer on top of the encrypted layer of the internet. So what that means is we never see any data at all, and that's also the place where we use zero knowledge proofs. Is that if we want to be able to prove something about the user's credentials and the user's reputation, but we don't want to be seeing the data ourselves, right? Also, to put things into perspective, there's a different way to solve the same problem. The different way to solve the same problem is, hey, if Kelvin is saying, hey, he studies at Stanford, I would say, hey, okay, give me your stanford.edu username and password. I will log in on your behalf. I will check whether you're a student at Stanford, and then I will say yes or no, whatever, to the third party that is requesting this information. But that is going to be a big hassle when it comes to compliance, privacy, security, right? Because I'm literally storing your username and password and using that to log in and do a bunch of operations, which is a strict no, right? Like you can't do that. Okay, fine. Like Stanford or ED, you might be willing to give me your username password, but will you be willing to give me my will you be willing to give your bank credentials? I don't think so, or something more sensitive, and so on. So the most important thing is everything that we do is end-to-end encrypted. Still, we do not see any data, so obviously we do not even store any data, and that solves our problem, right? So we are never touching any data, so we are good. But that does not relieve us of our responsibilities. We are also responsible for the privacy preservation of our customers, right? So if you are logging into your bank account and you want to share your bank balance, right? So that is the only thing that you want to share. You don't want to share your phone number. You don't want to share your physical address, which is also probably information that is there on the same screen, that on the same page. You don't want to be able to share that. So it is also our responsibility as a service provider that not only are we not seeing any data, but we also ensure that the data that is actually being shared by the user to the third party does not contain any information that they do not want to share. So if they do not want to share their let's say phone number or address, that is not shared with the third party, and all of this without compromising the integrity of the rest of the data itself. For example, you could think of it like as we take a screenshot and then you would smudge out the phone number and the address, but without degrading the integrity of the document itself. So the user who's receiving this information, or the product that is receiving this information, can see that, okay, there are parts of the page that have been blurred out, but that does not mean that the rest of the data is also being morphed in some way. So we do privacy preservation without degrading the integrity of the data that is being shared.
Yeah, I mean, really on point because nowadays there's a lot of incidents where there's a lot of data leakage about personal data, and I personally wouldn't want that to happen to me. So, next, let's shift to strategy and growth. You've identified multiple verticals like HR, finance, Web3. So, how do you prioritize where to focus on? And are you going after enterprise clients first, or developer adoption in crypto, or both? And related to that, what's your strategy for scaling the business side? For example, building partnerships or acquiring users?
For sure. Okay, that's a convoluted question. I'll try to answer them in parts. Again, going back, the applicability of this technology is way too broad, and that's a curse for us as a company, because we constantly get distracted. Oh, we can do this. Oh, we can do this. But as a company, we need to be very, very focused. So right now, our focus is on, as I said, job marketplaces, background verification, loyalty, and lending. these are the four verticals that we care about, and we have like a dedicated person who's like heading each of these verticals. That's the first part. So again, we are not focused on Web3, Web2. If we take a category saying lending, we don't care whether it's Web2 lending, Web3 lending, doesn't matter. If you're doing loyalty, it doesn't matter if you're an airlines or if you're an on-chain product, we almost don't care. So we care about the verticals. The underlying technology is not something that we have to bother with on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's the first part of the answer. The second part is your question around, hey, are we going after enterprises or are we going after developer growth and stuff like that, right? I'll have to give a slightly nuanced answer over here. The short answer is we're going after enterprises. Now, when I say enterprises, okay, like we're going after like companies that are well established. Now, they might be early stage, so they might not categorize as enterprise necessarily, but like companies. Let's say companies is what we go after. Like usually, a seed funded to public company, anywhere in that range. Which brings us to the second question, which is, hey, do we not do developer growth? So we of course do developer growth. So at the end of the day, the companies that are actually integrating us, end of the day, it's going to be a developer at that company that's actually going to look at our documentation and actually going to implement it. So our documentation is great. So we know that that's the persona, and that persona exists outside of companies as well. Like there are people who are just like hacking around and are trying to experiment with products or maybe building a side project of their own. So we definitely pay attention to them. But from a company strategy standpoint, the reason that we are engaging with all of these developers is almost like a cheat code. The cheat code is, okay, fine. You are probably building this as a side project today, which might not give us any revenue today, but that's okay. Hopefully, tomorrow when you are in a product discussion in which you're evaluating what technology to use, just because you have used Reclaim Protocol for your side project, you probably bring it up in that conversation. So you can think of our efforts to work with developers to be in the support of our primary growth strategy, which is to work with companies. So you can think of our effort in like working with developers as a way that, hey, these are the developers who are eventually going to go and make large decisions at companies anyway. So we want to drive awareness amongst those very, very critical set of audience. And that's why we work with developers very closely as well. Our primary focus, just to wrap this up, our primary focus is to work with companies. And one of the like marketing gimmicks that we have is to work with developers so that we, kind of get a awareness into these companies through other means as well.
So let's move on. And you've alluded to partnerships and ecosystems a few times. Could you highlight some of the key partnerships or alliances Reclaim has formed? I mean, this could be in terms of investors, tech partners, or clients, and anything that has been significant in your journey. And how do these partnerships play in your overall strategy?
For sure. There are multiple ways to like actually answer this question, right? So first up, like I think on this podcast, I definitely need to say that, hey, folks like Ingi are investors. So that's so awesome. Not only because they are great investors, but also because you already have this at Narrative. You have like a bunch of other projects that you work with, and we are able to get a front door, get a knock at the door through you guys. So that is very, very useful. A lot of our investors definitely help us out because they're working with a bunch of companies. So that's extremely, extremely useful. That's one part of the ecosystem that I definitely wanted to highlight. So thank you, Narrative and team. So the second like ecosystem that you could say is we are deployed on like multiple chains. So what that means is if you are an application that is building an on-chain finance application on Solana or on Base or on Ethereum, so you need to be able to verify all of these zero knowledge proofs that we are generating as part of Reclaim Protocol. Okay, fine. Reclaim Protocol you were able to verify that this person actually went to stanford.edu, but that's probably a JSON file that you're having on your server. How do you verify this on a blockchain? So we work with all of those blockchain ecosystems to make sure that the developers over there are able to verify this information um, in their respective applications. So we work with I think at this point we are deployed on 35 chains. So we work like ecosystem after ecosystem after ecosystem, just making sure that if you're an application that is building in that ecosystem, you can verify all of this information. And that's in the web 3 space. In the web 2 space, unfortunately, I might not be able to drop the names over here, but no, we could of course chat about it off camera. But um, the there are a lot of these identity providers that are out there in which they think of it as they're doing like multiple identity checks. No, they're verifying your AML, your KYC. They're also checking your education, employment, and so on. So we work with a lot of those kind of companies as well, in which they can do whatever they're doing for, let's say, identity check or KYC check, AML check, but use us for education and employment verification. So we are plugged in into all of those what we call identity provider services as well. So that's the Web 2 ecosystem equivalent, I would say, that we are plugged in. So our job is very simple. That is, we need to be present everywhere where the company. We need to be available on all of the technological platforms that companies are using to verify information about the users. So whether it be a blockchain, whether it be an identity provider, whether it be SDKs, we are present everywhere. So that's kind of our goal. So we work with a lot of such ecosystems, both in the Web 2 and Web 3 space.
Actually, one of the reasons I was really excited about this conversation is because Rocket Punch, one of our portfolio companies at Narrative, is a large job marketplace based in Korea. We've been thinking a lot about how to improve credential and background verification for both candidates and employers on the platform. And I believe Reclaim Protocol could be a perfect fit, especially with how you verify employment and education data directly from the website instantly and securely. So we'd love to explore how we can bring Reclaim into Rocket Punch and possibly use it as a real-world showcase of trust infrastructure at scale in the hiring space. And I'm very excited.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for bringing that up. I was like being very careful. Like, oh, can we announce this yet on the podcast? Can we not announce it? So I was not very sure. But thank you for putting it out there. So yeah, Rocket Punch is like crazy awesome, right? It's the perfect use case. Like you have all of these millions of users who are creating their profile and sharing something about their credentials. Now, I could go to Rocket Punch and like type whatever I want as my employer. I could say, hey, I work at, I don't know, I work at Google. Like, there's no way for you to verify that. And I think that's a problem that we want to solve. And as Engi mentioned, we'll be releasing that very soon, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully, we can integrate this soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in an investor's point of view, there's never a time more exciting where like both of our portfolio companies can create great synergies like this. So super excited for that. And so next up, looking ahead, what's the future roadmap for Reclaim Protocol? Where do you see the project in, say, 2 to 3 years and even farther out? Any new features or expansions you're excited about? And what does success look like in the long term?
Yeah, I think because of the data at which we are recording this conversation, Kelvin, unfortunately, I might have to give you a boring answer. Is like beginning this quarter, we just came out of the conversation in our all hands, in which we were like, hey, you know what? We have the product that actually works. We're not going to add any more features. We're just going to make sure that the features that we have really, really work. Right. So there's still a lot of edge cases, right? So it's a very new technology. So there are a lot of edge cases that we need to tackle. So I would say most of our focus I wouldn't say for the next 2-3 years, but at least top of mind when you're asking me this question is, hey, you know what? Damn, we've just decided to not add any more features. So that's where I'm coming from. So right now, our biggest focus is on stability, in making sure that it works. Stability and user experience, right? So we need to make sure that this product actually works consistently, and we also need to make sure the user experience is great. Like for example, if you're on a Rocket Punch and it's a consumer product, you need to make sure that the users do not drop off just because you're showing them the verify button, right? So those are the kind of challenges that we are actively looking at right now, like improving the UX and improving the stability. That's going to be top focus for us. But that's maybe for the next 3 months or so. But your question really was like more longer term, right? Like where does this go? The thing that I am personally most excited about is one thing that we've already started seeing happen is a lot of AI agents are doing most of our transactions. Like I don't know if you've already seen this on Rocket Punch yet, but we've been working with a bunch of recruiter AIs and a bunch of candidate AIs. So there are like all of these AIs that are acting on behalf of the recruiter, that's like looking at all of the applications and making decisions. But on the other side, you have like all of these candidates who also have AI agents that are going and like applying to all of these job applications out there. So what is very clear is more and more of this transactions on a daily basis is being done by an AI. Now, if that is going to be true, and if that's going to accelerate from here, you need verifiability. You need verifiable data. Otherwise, like all of these AI agents can spin up very convincing fake data and fake identities, fake profiles, and you don't want that to really hamper the business itself, right? So I think that is going to be very important. AI agents that are going to be operating on the internet need like verifiable data, and identity is going to be a small part of it. But let's say if my AI agent is saying, hey, Madhavan has 10,000 miles on United Airlines, that's why you should give him this discount, whatever. Now you need verifiability, like why are you making that claim? So all of that is going to be super critical. I think as and when AI agents become more networked, and are taking decisions based on talking to each other, I think verifiability is going to become more and more important, and that's where I think Reclaim Protocol will really see its true glory. So that future is not yet here. I think that might align better with your question, Kelvin. Is where do we see this in, let's say, 2 years? I don't know. 2 years is like way too long for anything to do with both AI as well as ZK. So broadly speaking, I think AI agents are going to require verifiability to unlock their full potential. I have a blog post about this. I'm happy to share that in the show notes as well. Is what I'm most excited about right now. But that might still be like a few months away.
Yeah, actually, we are starting to see more AI agents and bots becoming active on Rocket Punch. So they are engaging with posts, profiles, and even reaching out to the candidate via message. So we are thinking a lot about what kind of infrastructure and verification might be needed in a world where AI bots and humans coexist in the platforms. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and because these AI agents are now going to be indistinguishable from a human, or maybe in many cases like better than a human at engaging with posts and stuff like that, right? So yeah, it's definitely going to become a big problem. We need to figure out a way to solve it.
Yeah, that's true. I hope Reclaim will be a crucial player to solve these problems.
Yes, 100%. Very excited.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. We see like a world where there's like millions or billions of autonomous agents going around in the internet, and I don't want an agent like say, oh, I'm Kelvin, I'm gonna use $1,000. Please let me do that. I don't want that to happen. So we need products like Reclaim to prevent that, and really excited for how well it will solve that. So this has been a super insightful conversation. As we wrap up, I have to ask, what advice or closing thoughts would you share with our listeners, especially those interested in digital identity privacy or even building in this space themselves?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things to take away from this conversation is that, hey, we have been doing identity and verification of data in a certain way for the last 10, 20 years, largely using screenshots and PDFs and self-declared data, stuff like that. And that has fundamentally changed. And that has changed for like two reasons. The first reason is AI. That is, AI is now able to create very convincing first-party data, right? So the AI is able to like use all of these applications and like as Ingi was saying, is able to interact with all of these posts and be very convincing in doing so. So like a lot of information is being generated or is going to be generated very soon. And the way that we look at verifiability might start breaking down. Right, so downloading a PDF, uploading a PDF is yeah, it's almost stupid at this point, right? So the appeal over here is probably that, hey, a new way of verifying now exists. Whether you take Reclaim Protocol or not, that's almost besides the point. The more important thing is this new technology called zero knowledge proofs now exists, in which you can do verifiability of like various kinds of computation, various kinds of data, and that is super important. And I fear that in a parallel universe in which AI was, let's say, delayed by, let's say, 2 years, I think at this point in time the technology that all of us would have been talking about would have been ZK. ZK is such a huge breakthrough in the kind of things that we are capable of doing that was previously not possible. Is something that is being overlooked or has been overshadowed, and rightfully so. It has been overshadowed by AI because AI is like way cooler and probably has a much wider general application. So my appeal to, if they are a builder or a person who's thinking about products, my appeal is, hey, this new technology called zero knowledge proofs exists, which is probably one of the most powerful technologies that we've invented in the last few decades, only second to AI itself. That's something that you should probably be paying attention to, even if it's not something that you immediately use. So my appeal over here is probably, hey, zero knowledge proofs exist. You should probably be aware of what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree that I truly believe GK technology is one of the most important breakthrough of our time. And it's not just technically elegant, it unlocks entirely new ways to build trust, privacy, and control into the digital platforms. I'm really excited to see how it continues to evolve and get applied to the real world. And I definitely Reclaim be a perfect tool of this vision in the real world. Yeah.
100%. Hey, with that, like you made a small hint at something that I would like to double click on as we are wrapping this conversation up. Is I think as we as a society need to start demanding higher standards in privacy. Right now, like the Web 2 applications have definitely done a great job at bringing the technology to the masses. But apart from maybe, let's say, end-to-end encrypted messages and websites, we don't have a lot of privacy awareness in the industry. Like there are a lot of applications in which you are just giving away your data almost unknowingly. I think we as a society need to also up our standards on what is the level of privacy that we demand from our companies that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. Sorry, that's just like my own agenda around pushing for privacy, but just wanted to like throw light on that as well. That's something that zero knowledge proofs actually enables in today's day and age.
Yeah, I think I agree with the privacy is very important because recently I've been using the YouTube Summary AI app, and I was very surprised that the founder of the AI app he knew exactly which videos I watch it and summarize. That's wild. So I'm very concerned that the privacy is not that widely discussed these days, but it's very important issue.
Yeah, and a lot of us just take this for granted. You just take it for granted that, hey, we're using the service. Obviously, they will have access to all of this data. No, it's not. It's not needed. Like, it's not normal. The reason that it's happening is because of, like, just bad incentives, right? So there's an incentive for this, YouTube summarizing app to collect all of this data because they can sell this data later. So unfortunately, it has become normal for us to accept these kind of applications. But as what Inge is mentioning, you need to like also drive awareness that there is a better way to do this.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience? Any final thought or messages you'd like to leave us with?
I think this was a pretty comprehensive podcast. I think Kevin, you did a great job at like covering all of the questions that are most relevant. Maybe like just check us out. Reclaimprotocol.org is the place where you can find us. And then also more interestingly, we have a bunch of videos and blogs. For, like again, just for like educational purposes, I think a great resource. Blog.reclaimprotocol.org is one place where you can go learn about a lot of technical documentation that we've written, just to understand the technology, if not to customers. And if you're a developer and if you want to like play around with this, docs.reclaimprotocol.org is the place to go and start playing around.
Okay, so Matt, thank you so much for joining us. This was truly a fascinating conversation, and we are especially excited to be introducing Reclaim Protocol to more people in Korea, where interest in privacy, identity, and trust infrastructure is growing rapidly. I think this conversation will spark a lot of curiosity and deeper exploration from our audience. Yeah, thank you so much.
100%. Thank you so much for having me, and also thank you so much for having very, very elaborate, detailed questions. I really appreciate it.